Hi, algebra. Awesome, first lesson. We want to learn today how to combine like terms, but what I wanted to do is go over the basics with you. A lot of that we learned in 7th grade. And so before we can do combining like terms in an equation, I want to review the basics, okay? And this, basically the basics is when PEMDAS, multiplying a negative times a negative, multiplying and division with negative and positive integers, and also adding and subtracting positive and negative integers. So when you are multiplying or dividing, okay, and really I'm using this as a review, okay, so if you need more clarification, remember in class what we did in 7th grade is any negative times a negative, okay, would be a positive. If you had a negative times a positive, it would always be a negative. Or a positive times a negative would always be a negative. No matter what you do, division or multiplication, okay? Basically, if it's the same sign, positive times a positive, or negative times a negative, it's going to be a positive result. If it is different results, different signs, it will always be negative, okay? So this should not be, and I can, if I need to model that for you and help you better understand that, I will. Just pull me aside. Okay, so what if we are adding and subtracting with negative integers? You know, like money. You know, you put $200 in an account and you subtract 350, you're going to end up with a negative number. So the strategy that we used in class in 7th grade was scoreboard. Basically, scoreboard was the absolute value and who won. It was like this, okay, if you have a $200 surplus and you spend $350, the difference is going to be $150, but you're still in the negative, okay? So we use the strategy to help you out. So let's pretend that you had a problem of -2 plus 3 minus a -4, okay? And a lot of this was boxing from the back, saying the sign, and remember that when you are subtracting any negative number or even multiplying, it's always going to end up being a positive you're adding, okay? Again, if you want me to clarify that, I will. So here, I'm just simply adding. So this was a positive, and this was a negative. And I'm going quickly because you're in algebra, and this is what we learned in 7th grade. So you had a 4 for the positive, 3 for the positive, and then 2 for the negative. And you add up the columns. So the positives were 7, negatives were 2. Who wins? The positive. And that's when we say by how many. And you say the positives minus the negatives. So your answer and the winner gets the sign. Okay? And if I need to show you that on a number line, I'll be more than happy to do that. But this is the basis. When you are adding and subtracting, and remember you're going to have a calculator, so it's not going to be that difficult this year. But I just kind of want to give you a little bit of clarification, okay? Now, the last thing was PEMDAS. I cannot stand the word PEMDAS. And the reason is we forget the order of operations, because really parentheses and exponents are on the same level. It's not as if I have to do parentheses first, okay? I don't have to do multiplication before I do division. All right, so for example, what if I had, and I'm going to skip a little bit of going over PEMDAS because this is what we learned in 6th grade. And I want to add with the distributive property. And that's why I am only introducing PEMDAS, okay? What if I had the problem 2 times x plus 3 minus 4? Okay? Now already I have introduced a variable. Okay, and I'm starting to give you a little bit of vocabulary. Okay, that is a variable. Can my variables change? Absolutely. It can be an x, it can be a y, it can be a z. Okay? So when you have the distributive property, you distribute the number that is multiplying all of the terms within the parentheses. Okay? So I'm going to multiply 2 times x. That gives me 2x. Now I'm going to multiply that 2 times the 3. I'm distributing the 2 to each term. 2 times 3 is going to give me 6. So now I've simplified the distributive property, and I'm going to carry down the rest of the expression. Okay? So now what I want to do is when we are simplifying, you look at common terms. Obviously, my -4 is the same term as a 6. These are both called fixed terms. And I'm going fast. You can always freeze the video, okay? Fixed terms, you can combine. It's almost as if I had dollars, right? They have no variable with them. They're just simply numbers, right? So what's a +6 and a -4? Okay, so if I had $6 and I subtracted 4 of them, I only have 2 left, okay? And then this one is different because when it's multiplying a variable, it has nothing to do with a fixed term, okay? So here you have and I'm tossing in vocabulary, you have a coefficient. Lots of information going on. A coefficient is any number that is multiplying. It is the number that multiplies the variable, but we don't know what that variable is. So I can't combine it with the 6, okay? So I have to simply carry it down. And this would be in the simplest form. Okay? All right, let's do a couple of examples, and I think it'll start to clarify a little bit. All right. Give me just 1 second. And I am going to pull. Okay. Let's do, you know what, normally I'm going to work left to right, but this time I'm going to say let's go to the left side of the page, and I apologize. We're going to do some examples.